On this episode of Mike Colameco's Real Food, we'll visit one of the most important restaurants on the Upper West Side.
We're gonna give this one a little pop.
The team's led by veteran New York chef Jonathan Benno, formerly the chef at Per Se. Nice mutton chops.
Oh, of course, I like yours as well. Oh, no, it's happy hour.
Yeah, it is. And then it's back to the kitchen where Jonathan will demo one of Lincoln's signature pastas.
Place that right underneath the salamander.
Oh man, I'm cooking. All right. It's all coming up next. I'm Mike Colameco, chef and food lover. Come with me and meet some of today's most interesting chefs and their crews that work in their kitchens. Real chefs, real restaurants, and real recipes. That's what's on the menu. This is Mike Colameco's Real Food. We're inside the kitchen at Lincoln, and this is one of the shows I've wanted to do for a while. It's one of the most important restaurants to open in the last few years in New York City, and easily the best restaurant in this neighborhood and on the Upper West Side. It's on ground that had previously just been a plaza, kind of connecting Juilliard with Lincoln Center. So it was built straight up by the Patina Group, put together really a premier cast of characters. The chef is Jonathan Benno, one of the great chefs working in the city today. Super talented guy, super focused menu, super tight kitchen, great restaurant, lots of great pastry, great food all around, great wine program. We're going to spend the day at Lincoln. So it's early in the morning. I love this time in kitchens. I was never like a lunch guy, but it's super quiet. You've got the kitchen to yourself. It's cool. The stove's just getting started. And the guys are doing prep here at Lincoln, getting ready for lunch. We'll be here all day, lunch and dinner. I just love the details these restaurants go through. Here they've got these great mushrooms. They're going to make this various mushroom sauté. You know, they score them. They do this little knife mark thing. They're perfectly cleaned, and you're going to see why they do that when they go to cook these things, because it just picks up color, picks up texture, opens up a little when it hits the hot olive oil. Details, 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 man. See what's going on around the corner. All right, I'm here with Justin. You were with Jonathan at Per Se.
Yes.
So he came over from Time Warner, one of the great kitchens in America. What kind of sauce is he working on here?
This is our house marinara sauce, and it's composed of very basic onions, garlic, bay leaves, San Marzano tomatoes, and then finished with salt, red wine vinegar.
This is going to be a busy, busy station. Yeah, I love the pasta program here is full on great. What is this? I was going to ask you about these. So we've got little...
We're confit these tomatoes, basically. So what I'll do is I'll just cover them in olive oil, thyme, bay, and they're supposed to explode in your mouth.
Super slow cooking. I mean, this is...
You can tell it's just warm. It's very warm right here.
Yeah, like 110, 112.
We got a spaghetti with a pomodoro sauce. It's basically just fresh tomatoes, sofrito, a little bit of onion, fennel, celery, carrot. We're topping it with a little gremolata, a little bit of parsley, and then we're confiting the cherry tomatoes in olive oil with aromatics, some bay leaf, some thyme, and then we just garnish with a little Parmesan Reggiano. Ordering a Sous Chef for two, one spaghetti, one shrimp, followed by a tag and a soft shell.
Tell me what you got going on here. We got a little turnips or something?
Tokyo turnips here for our nudie dish with a lot of spring vegetables. And I'm just doing a quick glaze. And this is how we're taking regular water right here.
Just keep working it down, working it down.
As fast as possible. And then towards the end, I'll add a little bit of champagne vinegar and salt. And what it does is it just brightens up the turnips. You can see how nice and white they are.
And you've also done a couple of batches of turnips separately, right? You did your reds?
Yeah, radishes, and I cook them the same exact way.
Okay.
And I'll season them at the end and a little bit of red wine vinegar, and it glazes them, and it brings out the brightness in the vegetable.
These are the radishes that he cooked earlier, just done. These cook differently than that, and you can only combine them at the end.
These are a little bit smaller, they cook a little bit quicker.
Details, man.
And nice and tender.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
A chef is building this little potato torta, where he's taken washed, cleaned Idaho potatoes, slicing them on a mandolin so they get to be real thin, like that. We've got alternating layers of potatoes, salt, pepper, olive tapenade. So layer upon layer. So you get 10 of these layers. They get this perfect potato torte that you're going to see. This is just a garnish for a lamb dish, but it's all about details. I'm here with Jonathan Benno, chef at Lincoln, and Previously, the last time I met you, you were the chef at Per Se down the road a bit. Two of the most important openings in the last decade. Talk about this.
I'd always wanted to cook Italian food professionally. You know, when the time came for me to leave Per Se, I wanted to do something very, very different. I didn't want to go open another fine dining French restaurant because
Been there, done that.
how can you compare to that? It's such a special place.
Benno, an Italian-American last name. What drove you into this business?
When I was 18, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to go to college, and my father sure knew he wasn't going to take the chance. So I went out to Hawaii and worked for a while. And it was out there that I realized that I wanted to do this. That was right about the time Thomas was opening the French Laundry. And there was a sous chef there that had worked with him in Los Angeles that said, listen, you've worked here for 18 months. Go up there and work for this guy because this is going to be a very, very special place. I started as a commis and worked as a fish cook, and then I got the itch to live and work in New York City.
So tell me what you're making here.
It's a 3-layered mousse. So we have a mascarpone or jaune, which is a hazelnut milk chocolate, and then a dark chocolate mousse layer. And we have a hazelnut crocante, which is like a hazelnut shortbread.
Yeah.
And then a honey turtle
Crispy,
latte
crunchy,
gelato.
creamy, delicious hazelnuts.
Delicious.
That's beautiful. And what are these little crunchy things on top that look like Cheerios?
They're candied hazelnuts.
Candied hazelnuts.
Yes.
You're making somebody happy at the end of the meal. Thank you.
So.
Thank you, kiddo. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm here with Richard Capizzi. First of all, thanks for having us in. I know you don't have cameras in here. This is like almost a first, I think, but thanks. I'll thank Jonathan. And it's funny because I remember you as I do Jonathan and some of the other team from Per Se. Talk a bit about the pastry program because it's like two. There's lunch and dinner, and that's always hard. And
for us, we found that lunch really wasn't a big hit for plated desserts. So we played around with an idea about 2 months ago, cakes or different traditional Italian cakes.
yeah.
When they walk into the restaurant, the first thing you're gonna see are the cakes, the color, the beauty, you know, trying to work with things that are seasonal fruits and this and that. People are in a hurry and they all have time restraints, you know, they all have to go. So buy a slice of cake and it just goes out easily and it's something that takes 3 to 4 minutes.
Your pastry's so darn good. Want me to hold the chinois?
Sure.
What we're making is the semolina tart,
Correct.
which is this really cool recipe that you have that reminds me of something I used to do years ago. And we've got milk that you've brought to a boil, simmered with whole vanilla beans.
Perfect, chef.
We are whisking semolina. And because we've added semolina, we can actually then cook those eggs up past 212 without the risk of them curdling.
Exactly.
When did the recipe idea come
This
from?
is a recipe from Jonathan, actually.
Okay.
I twist his arm to get it.
It's getting to look like polenta now.
It is.
Butter's just going to dissolve in,
Yep.
add some richness to it.
Now just gonna add the eggs.
I say if you do this once a day, you don't need the gym membership. All right, you can see
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
incorporated.
Yep.
Don't see any more egg yolks. We don't see any more butter.
And the heat is off. So that's it. Now we're gonna bring it over and we're gonna put it in the molds.
I'll follow you.
The trick here is to do the plastic. Plastic doesn't burn or melt in the oven if you do the water bath. This will give you that clean shape, so when you flip it out, you don't have to bang it too hard, it'll just fall right out of the mold. And when you heat that up and you bake it, the plastic wrap almost smooths out. So any wrinkles that you see on the outside edge, it almost pulls it tight.
Yeah, let's go upstairs and do some plating.
The only thing that's hard about the kitchen is up and down. You can see that.
Oh, you must
That's all we
go
do.
up and down these steps a million times
Oh,
a
you
day.
have no idea. All right, what you saw downstairs is being baked inside the tureen mold. This is the shape, and what we do is we unmold it, place it onto a cutting board, trim it down, and then that's the shape that we have. We're just gonna place that down just a little bit. You can place that right underneath the salamander.
Oh man, I'm cooking. All right, you take it after this. I'll put it in, you take it out.
All right, I'm gonna raise that up. This is gonna give it a little toasty flavor,
Yeah.
you know, especially around the edges. So while that's working, what we're gonna do is plate up. So we take fresh lemon verbena, we steep it in the creme fraiche, about 2 hours, roughly. And then what we do is we whip it.
It's like a richer version of whipped cream.
Right. Now you can see there's a little bit of color. See the edges?
Beautiful. It's got that little toastiness to it. All right, a little dusting of just... Do you dry that sugar at all, or that's just regular old granular?
Regular
Okay.
granulated. How are you at brulees?
No, you're gonna do this. I'll let you do the honors.
And the trick here is to start from the top and work your way down. So what you want to do is slowly melt the sugar
rather than burning it and having it granular.
You want to make sure it's cooked evenly, but you don't want to blow off the sugar as well.
Boy, I'm glad you did that, not me.
We're going to place that right here. So here we have some Brooks cherries that are macerated or poached and a little bit of the juice. We're going to place down a few. Really keep it simple, you know?
That looks delicious, Chef, man. That's beautiful.
That's it.
Talk a bit about what this restaurant is for people that haven't been here yet, because it's kind of an expression of you, and it's this kind of Italian-ish place.
Yeah, it's a contemporary Italian cuisine in a very, very modern building.
We got our linguine with the razor clams and manila clams here. We start with a little bit of pancetta. We render it down, going with some garlic scapes, and then right at the end, the razor clams are still raw, so we're just warming them through, so they just basically melt in your mouth as you eat them. Well, that's our linguine with clams.
Yeah, that's linguine with clams via Lincoln. I love it.
You know, the restaurant's evolved a lot since the opening. Operating a restaurant in a theater district is really challenging. You know, we have that 5:30 to 7:30 hit most nights. It's really, really busy, and you know, people have to be out at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then you get New Yorkers who are leaving work and coming out for dinner. You know, that's 8 to 10. And then, you know, 10:30, when the theater is let out, people are looking for supper, you know, a lighter meal. So we really have 3 distinctly different service periods a night. And we're open for lunch, and then we do brunch on Saturday and Sunday. How about the first flounder of the evening?
I mean, there's this sort of orthodox Tony May school of Italian food, being that if it doesn't it's not Italian, if the chef's not Italian, if the ingredients aren't imported, it's not. And then there's the more modern version, and to me, my take.
Right. Our goal here is to take, you know, a very traditional cuisine, respect it, you know, source the best ingredients we can from Italy, and supplement with, I don't want to say better ingredients, but you know, the best ingredients that we can find here.
Ordering for 2 to Assaggio, soft shell bib, followed by flounder halibut.
We're starting a new dish this evening with flounder, sea scallop, and local squid with a saffron brodo made with the fish bones, a little bit of pepperoncino, and fregola.
Thanks for having us in.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of your work. Thanks, man. So tell me what you're making here. It's so cool looking. I can smell the yeast. I can see the dough.
So it's our play on pizza bianco. It's a white mix pizza that we make. We let it proof. We mix it with 00 flour. That's the trick. But you can see when I'm pulling it, it's really soft.
It's almost like liquid.
That's exactly what it's like. It's almost like a little bit firmer than a ciabatta.
Right.
And then we fold it onto the table with a little bit of oil. Semolina goes down just enough to coat the bottom, and then
House marinara.
House marinara. 3 types of dried herbs: basil, thyme, oregano, salt, and pepper, and then finish it with the Parmesan.
That are so delicious. This with a Negroni, and I'm in trouble. Got a nudi on order, and nudi are these wonderful little dumplings, basically. Real light, super light dumplings. Probably cooking a minute and a half. Here they are. Just a little melted butter, a little of the pasta water.
Try this.
Thanks, Chef.
Missing a little garnish.
It's like liquid center, like custard. I mean, that's just ridiculous. As we've said many times on this program, restaurants are really all about planning and teamwork. Today we'll meet some of the folks that make Lincoln such a standout. We're here with Aaron Von Rock, who I have to tell you, nice mutton chops.
Oh, of course, I like yours as well.
I like that. You do the wine and beverage here at Lincoln. Talk about the wine program.
Well, we try to keep a focus as if you're enjoying Italian wine in Italy, which allows them to do a dappling of champagne, which they typically enjoy, along with the wide range of Italian wines. You kind of need that focus in the wine list to help reassert that Lincoln is an Italian ristorante.
So one of the things I was so stoked about it. As an Italian-American kid, you know, your parents drink Galliano after dinner, and we knew what grappa was as we were little kids, and I just always loved Campari. Loved Campari and soda as a kid, then Negroni. As soon as I was old enough to be sophisticated as a young chef, I've been doing Negronis for way too many years. You guys have this full-on Negroni program.
It's like very much a wine insider's kind of drink. It comes to mind readily. Drink is a stirred drink, so it doesn't get ice cold like you would for a martini, but it's like really sipping something primal.
You know, we're just going to turn into the Negroni hour if we're not careful. So let's just get you mixing a couple of variations.
Of course.
We'll taste them and talk about them, and we call it work.
I'll get behind the bar.
What you're going to do a demo when you get a lot of bottles in front of you, so what's the game plan?
So first, the aperitivo bitters. Of course, Campari's the classic, and then we'll use some of these others. Then we'll move to our vermouths. We have a couple options here. We'll start with one from Torino. And then the idea of gin, of course, is botanicals, flavoring, a neutral grain spirit. So we can use something like a classic beefeater. That'll make our base. And here's the 3 classic elements. If you're doing this at home and you're counting, it's about 15 seconds for 40 stirs.
You want to get them to almost somewhere between 15 and 20% water.
That's right.
The alcohol level is so high that by introducing that much water, you bring in the temperature down to where it's drinkable, but you also need water in there to give it feel.
You really do.
And now that we've got it cold, it'll melt the ice much slower.
That's right. And it'll keep that, the ice will keep that craggy look too. So we want the alcohol to coat the top of the ice. And then of course, when the Negroni's invented, we use a little orange peel.
Pretty much how evenings start in my world around 7. That's good.
You know, the original Negroni was called a Torino Milano. It took advantage of the travel route between the two cities. Of course, Milano was home to Campari. They saw Americans starting to drink a lot of these when they would come, so they changed the name to an Americano. And a famous story where Count Negroni in a Florentine bar asked the bartender to make his Americano a little bit stronger. And the bartender added gin and put, for the first time, an orange twist on it.
That's the
to
story.
differentiate from the rest. And now it's happy hour.
Yeah, it is.
Welcome to the Negroni bar.
Yeah, thank you. Paolo.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Great to see you, man. I remember your face, and it's like so many other people from the team here that have come over from Per Se. So hiring is used. Everyone who gets a job here comes through you.
Yes, hiring is 50% of the process. This job used to be made of waiters and waitresses. No, we have to wait on someone until this someone says yes or no. We are waiting on them. This is really what hospitality is about, and you can't really teach it. You have to look for it in the person you bring and work with you.
It's going to be about 6 o'clock in about 2 minutes.
Yes.
They're already coming in. You go to work, and thank you, man.
Thank you very much again.
Be
Thank
well.
you. Thank you.
With Lincoln Center steps away, come 6 p.m., it's full-on busy.
We're going to give this one a little pop.
Beautiful organic carrots, braised, finished with a little acid reduction, a little vinegar, sitting on top of a ricotta. So it's sweet, it's carroty, it's cheesy, it's delicious.
Yeah, go, go, go. We'll be there, we'll be there.
We have rigatoni with our house-made spicy Italian sausage. It's just a little bit of marinara sauce, ricotta cheese, fresh basil, and garnished with some fresh cracked pepper and Parmesan Reggiano.
Updated old school classic.
Soft shell tartare, 2 anchovy, extra crispy, right?
We have a little jardiniere veg on the bottom, pickled with carrots, celery, onion, turnips, cucumbers.
And he's got a soft shell in the fry later. Bingo.
And then we have a lemon aioli on the bottom.
A lot of flavor.
Tartare,
2 soft shells, table 6.
Thanks.
2 lamb, 1 medium well, 1 medium rare.
Good, I'm glad we're here today. Looks good, no? Once service begins, all the various preparations we saw earlier in the day start to come together. The potato and olive tart that was baked downstairs becomes part of the lamb dish. And that grilled veal chop looks pretty darn good to me. That's beautiful. That and some bread and a glass of Chianti. So as I mentioned kind of at the open of this piece, for me, Lincoln's one of the most important restaurants to open up in the last half a decade in the city. And a big part of that reason is the choice of Jonathan Benno as chef. Jonathan was the head of the team that opened Per Se. One of the most talented guys working in the country. It's a pleasure to have you here. Right now, this restaurant's one of the best kitchens in the city. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And your pasta program is just full on. Talk a bit about the dish before we get launched.
It's a strozzapreti neri, so it's a house-made extruded pasta. And the components of the dish, there's ruby red shrimp, mussels, calamari, capers, olives, our house tomato sauce, a little bit of pepperoncino, mussel stock, and then the dish gets finished with chopped parsley, goes into the bowl. We put a little bit of breadcrumbs on it. It goes underneath the salamander. So we start with a little bit of, cooking olive oil. It's
talk about this oil too, because you guys got this. I was just tasting some olive oil off one of your cold sides. Talk a bit about the olive oil that you're using. It's a beautiful oil, Southern Italian oil.
Yeah. Well, we have three. We have our cooking olive oil, which is a good extra virgin olive oil. We get that one from Bonitalia. And then we were able to import an oil in 25-liter cans from a producer in Puglia called Cuisine. And they make several olive oils, but the two that we chose, one is called an Intenso and one is called a Delicato. So we start by sauteing the ruby reds. We drain the cooking oil out of the pan, and then we cool the pan down. This is a little bit of mussel stock. So this is what we use. It's white wine, garlic, shallot, thyme, bay, peppercorn, parsley stem. So we use to steam the mussels open. Then we add, this is our house marinara sauce. All right, and then we add the
capers and olives.
All right, and then we drop the pasta.
We're gonna wait a minute and a half for the pasta to come up and get ready?
Yep. So yeah, just a little bit of...
Yeah, a little of that water. You see chefs doing this all the time.
A little bit of pepperoncino, and then the dish is really ready.
On the plate. Great ingredients, really simple. Some of these great house-made crumbs that you see so often.
Just a little bit of crunch. We toast them with olive oil, a little bit of oregano and pepperoncino.
Go under the salamander?
Yeah, and then we just pass this under the salamander for 30 seconds to a minute.
To just help those crumbs crisp them up and get that top hot.
And that's it.
New York's never short of good restaurants. There's always a question about the great ones. This is one of the great ones. So if you happen to be around Lincoln Center for a show, this is where you come. If you want a great meal, just make a trek up here. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you in the kitchen. And thanks for hanging around in New York and doing all this great work over all these years, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks you. Great team. See you next week.